Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and as another Sunday rolls along, it's time for the second issue of the back pages. Today we're going to be going through those Sunday papers, seeing what they're saying and giving my opinion to everything that is in there. So, without any, messing around here, I'm going to try and get into things as quickly as possible, but this is obviously the second episode of the back pages. Last week, the first edition of it went down really well, and I can only say thank you for the support that you gave on that video, so we're going to keep going with it, and I enjoyed it, so hopefully you are too. It's just myself giving my opinions on what is on those back pages, and also giving the chance to those people who may not read the newspapers, which is a majority of the younger generations, a little insight to what's being said, and what they're missing out on. Of course, as a man who's studying journalism, I would encourage you all to perhaps have a look, maybe even online, at some of what the print are saying. But of course, we all have our opinions on journalism, and a lot of it can be garbage, but you know what? I still have to value what I want to be. So anyway, we're going to not waste much time. We're going to start off today with the Daily Star. Yes, we're getting rid of that newspaper that I had last week, and we've replaced it with the fantastic Daily Star, which back page has a lovely big photo to kick us off of Leigh Griffiths, the man himself, the headline being Griff's big chance, the bad boy returns today. Leigh Griffiths is back in the Celtic fold and could be unleashed against his old side Hibs or Ross County. The striker trained with the first team squad on Thursday and Friday after being left out of the group that spent 2 weeks in Loughborough and France. Griffiths was blasted by boss Neil Lennon for letting his fitness slip during lockdown and warned to shape up if he was having to have a future at Parkhead. But he's here. Leigh Griffiths back training with the squad, so obviously Neil Lennon has seen a bit of improvement. Don't know to what extent he'll think that improvement is. Of course, I still a way to go, and as the subheading says, plenty to prove. He has got plenty to prove. He's got a lot of making up to do because Neil Lennon wasn't happy at all, and of course we touched on it last week in the papers. But very interesting that they've went with the byline of bad boy, because right now that is what a lot of the fans are like. A lot of the fans are really annoyed at how he's conducted himself over this lockdown period and how he's not in the best fitness that he could be. This has been Michael Gannon, by the way. The whole story goes on quite a bit, but I mean, it is good to see him back, and there's no denying it's good to see him back in training with the team, because you know what, he's a really good player. We all know that. He's a natural goal scorer, and we need to have goal scorers in our team this season. The other story on the back of the paper is Gerrard's plea for more players. Steven Gerrard last night warned the Rangers board that he needs to beef up his squad as he bids to wrestle the Premiership title from Celtic. Of course, Celtic fans have been very vocal towards the board and towards the management that we need more players at the squad, but Rangers are in the same boat, and if not, they're worse. They've got a bigger challenge ahead of them. They're so far behind us in terms of quality within their team that them improving their squad is probably more important than us improving ours. Yes, we have lost players, but the core of the team is still there. We've still got a starting 11, and I'm not saying that's good enough, because we do need to make signings. We need a goalkeeper, we need other players around the park, and hopefully we will get that. But Rangers, as Gerard's saying, definitely need it. A routine friendly win over English Championship new boys Coventry, and to complete a 4-game pre-season winning streak did nothing to disguise that Ibrox boss's belief his squad still needs to be bolstered, and that's at least Gerrard can come out and say that, because a lot of Rangers fans are treating these 4 friendly wins as if they're the kind of be all. They're going to go and end 10 in a row now. It's not the case. These friendlies mean absolutely nothing, and as we played Ross County as I currently speak. The game is on. It's on in a telly over on the far side of the room, and it does. If we went out and battered Ross County 9-10-0, which is not going to happen, but if we did, it wouldn't mean a thing. These wins against Coventry and Motherwell and whatever diddy teams they've been playing, I say that they actually played Lyon and Nice, are 2 good teams, but they don't mean a thing. They really don't. What matters is when the first ball of the season is kicked next week against Aberdeen for Rangers, and then I think the Rangers fans can come out and maybe have a little bit of a discussion with going on to try and stop 10 in a row. But he's certainly not wrong. He needs to go and sign some more players. Rangers do need to improve. Of course, a big double spread here about the game against Coventry yesterday. Sorry for the sound of the paper and the mic there. It's slow then go. Jers shake off sluggish start to bag another win. Of course, it was a bit of a sluggish start, but they did go and get the win. 2 decent goals as well from both Joe Aribo and Connor Goldson. There's no denying that is a couple of good goals there. And then at hell bent on 10, finally from the start, we've got Scott Brown saying Celt's dedication. What is it, Scott Brown? Scott Sinclair. It's Scott Sinclair, the old boy Scott Sinclair, saying that Celt's dedication will give them the title record. A former man saying that we will go and win 10 in a row. It won't be easy, but he believes we will do it. And then again, the story on Lee Griffiths in there. So there you go, that's it from the Daily Star. The back pages in there. Right then, £2.10 this one cost me, so they're a robbers, the Sunday Mail, honestly. Sunday Mail, as I said, they've got Rangers on the back page, the same story as touched on by the Star. Stevie says, I need more. Gerrard makes play to the board that he needs spending. The fixtures poster also included in today's Sunday Mail, so if you want to go and grab yourself a wee fixtures poster, then go and do so. I'll show it off after I talk about the paper itself. Griffiths back for Lennon as well, and no slack on COVID tests, a piece by Gavin Berry, as Professor Jason Leach has warned top flight clubs must follow COVID procedures to the letter to avoid disrupting the Premiership season, which is true. We can't, of course, fans don't have much to do with it at the moment. We can't go to the games, but these players and everybody involved in the Scottish Premiership returning must be cautious. They must follow rules. Let's not take what we have been given for granted, guys. Let's make sure that everything is under control. More talking about the game yesterday. Rangers beating Coventry 2-0, but the piece Jason Leach was involved in, pretty much saying, look, we can bugger everything up if the players don't follow things right, and we've got to make sure they follow things right, because what would be the point? What's the point in getting ourselves, all worked up for a return, and then, 2 weeks down the line, there's players, like you look at St Mirren the other day, of course, it came back that 6 of the tests were wrong, but they came back with 7 positive cases. I think it only turned out to be 1 was an actual positive case, but that's as easy as it is. For all we know, the lads can just take their eyes off the ball for a moment, and bang, you're looking at positive cases all over the league. So please make sure it doesn't happen. Let's try and keep this going for us. Let's keep the excitement up. Piece here, the SFA plot a smaller cup to fit games in. The SFA are talking with clubs about cutting the number of teams in the Scottish Cup from 112 to just 52 this season. Last term's tournament has yet to be finished, with the semis and finals set to be played at the end of 2020. The next cup campaign could begin on Boxing Day, less than a week after the Hampden showpiece, which would be the final, and one of the options on the table is inviting just the 10 non-league sides to join the 42 SPFL outfits, which is a shame, of course, if that does happen, because the Scottish Cup is exciting for every team around the country, from the Premiership to the lower leagues to the non-league teams who get a chance to compete in such a prestigious competition. But this year you can understand why they may need to cut that, and I don't want to sound like a high mighty Celtic fan and saying, aye, that's the solution. If we should try and get every measure looked at first before we have to cut these teams' chances out. You look at the stories last year of teams like East Kilbride who made it really far, and I can't remember the other one, but you always get teams like Auchinleck Talbot who do really well in the Scottish Cup, and for them to miss out, well, they might be part of the 10 non-league clubs because they're higher up there, but all these smaller teams who get the glamour and the kind of chance to play in such big matches against big teams, missing out would be a shame. But it is an understandable circumstances if we want to fit everything together. Of course, some people who are not Celtic, Hearts, Aberdeen or Hibs fans may say, we'll just scrap last year's tournament and go forward as normal. It's not quite as simple as that, I believe. So there is going to be a lot of talks on the table, I would imagine. There is going to be a lot of discussion that will go on, but hopefully we get the chance to see as many teams compete in the Scottish Cup as possible. And Kyle Lafferty signing for Regina over in Italy, signing a 2-year deal. I did not know that. That's in there. And there, here we have Sinclair again here in the Mail talking about Celtic winning 10 in a row. Scott, I am going to be a Celt for life. That's nice to see. And finally, we'll touch on Michael Gannon talking about Fraser Forster. There's Hunter's a keeper, but only one Forster. Believing that Fraser Forster is the main option, should be the number one option for the goalkeeper that we sign. Of course, there is a lot of talks about Barkas now coming to Celtic, but Michael Gannon making it perfectly clear he believes that there's only one Fraser Forster, and Fraser Forster should be the man to have it. And finally, actually, we'll talk about this. This is a piece on Stephen Fletcher, who is now a free agent, and perhaps a move to the Scottish Premiership. Let's just keep him away from Celtic. We don't need Stephen Fletcher, a player back in the day, but not now. And a couple of other pieces on Livingston and Hibs in here. A lot of, I kind of want to get on to the last paper, Hearts as well. A really good selection of stuff here today in the Sunday Mail for everybody around the country. Hearts, a lot of talk on them, and you know how they've been ill-treated. Hibs, there is Stevie Mallin's got a piece in here talking about how he feels he would have been a better player if he wasn't injured, and that is, I think Stevie Mallin's a great player and the injuries have held him back. And finally, a little piece on Livingston and one of their new signings, Salim Kuder Ayesa, who they've just signed. There's a lot of good pieces in there today. That's everything from the Sunday Mail. Today is the very chunky Scottish Mail that we're going to be looking at. I need to do my best to remove the crap inside, your sort of TV magazines and such. No one gives a toss. We're here for the sport. The Scottish Mail, their back page, a big giant photo of Mr. Aribo from Rangers. Once again, main story, we need more. That is simply said in giant writing. We need more. Rangers do need more. They're not going to stop 10 in a row with the squad they've got now, and there is talk of Morelos maybe heading over to France. So, and surprisingly, that's not been touched on in the papers today. Maybe tomorrow we'll see a lot of that about Morelos heading over to France, but there's not much to it. Alison McConnell as well touching on Griffiths being back with Celtic, which is probably the headline for ourselves. And here we go, big Old Firm spectacular on the first page when you open up. Will the tide finally turn? For some reason, Fraser Mackey, I don't believe it will quite yet. We'll wait and see. Old Firm set for epic conflict as Gerrard tries to sink Lennon's bid for the perfect 10. Two events 10 days apart in the summer of 1997 depicted a yawning gulf between the Old Firm clubs. On the last occasion, 10 in a row was possible. On July 3rd, Wim Janssen's unveiling as Celtic head coach at Parkhead was greeted with snorts of derision. What is that? Derision? That's what I'm looking for. I can't read. Had social media been invented then, Police Scotland would have been bombarded with complaints to follow up hate crimes committed against the curly-haired and the Dutch. Not wrong at all. Of course, back then the tide did turn, and there's no ruling out that it could turn this time, but as Gerrard has said himself, they need more. And then maybe the tide will turn, but you can't count out anything, and we'll talk about that in my Premiership predictions later this week. Barkas concedes he would rather play as defender. Celtic target, Barkas has revealed he hates being a goalkeeper and would rather play as a defender. Well, that's not exactly what you want to hear from who your number one target goalkeeper is it? Greek international Barkas is moving in a Celtic move. The Premiership champions appear to be edging closer to snapping up the 26-year-old Athens star in a £5 million deal to replace Fraser Forster, who's set to remain with Southampton. Barkas was linked earlier this year with a £7 million move to Roma after impressive displays for AEK. Look, I think he's going to be a fantastic keeper. Don't look into it too much. He'd rather be a defender. I think a lot of goalkeepers would rather be outfield players. But you know what? If you're good between the sticks, which Barkas clearly is, there is no denying that he will be a good signing. Celtic seek history, but rivals will have other ideas as the Premiership party starts. Another big piece there talking about how other teams in the league are be ready to try and stop 10 in a row. We've got to be ready, we've got to be hungry every single week and take no game for granted. Dundee United getting a wee piece in the Sunday Mate of the Scottish Mail as well. Mark's taste of Melon. Connolly has no doubt that United have picked the right man for the job as the club look forward to their top flight return. I think it's a terrific appointment, in all honesty, from Dundee United to bring in Mickey Mellon. I think it's going to work really well for them, and they will be pushing for top half. I think they'll be wanting to try and establish themselves as one of the top teams in the country, which they are. They're one of the biggest clubs in Scotland, and they'll want to be back there. Mickey Mellon, absolutely the right choice for me. If I was a Dundee United fan, I'd be buzzing with that. He's had a fantastic career in the lower leagues of England, and I think this is the right step for his career also. Aribo has all the attributes to lead Rangers title assault. No denying that Aribo is a good player. Title assault, we'll wait and see, as I said, when the first ball is kicked, but it's not going to be an easy season. And that does it for the back pages on today of all days, Sunday or whatever of July. I don't even know the date. If you have enjoyed, make sure that like and subscribe. It is all much appreciated, and I'll see you all next time.